Good evening, Minister Gopi Schoon. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm happy to spend some time this evening with TTT, with you, Dike, and of course the viewing public.
The pleasure is definitely ours. Now, the conversation, people are talking about diversify, looking at other products, but let me get it from you. When we say TNT's trade performance, what are we looking at currently?
So when you talk about trade performance, you're looking at both your imports and exports, right? Because trade involves both types of activities. And actually, both are interesting to us because we are, as you know, we are monitoring. And I'm not talking about food only, but I'm talking about machinery parts, inputs into manufacturing, and so on. Has really said to us, you need to be sustainable. And of course, we understand well that we need to reduce these levels of imports and increase our exports. And when we look at our exports, we're looking at both energy and energy exports, which are both valuable to us at this time in terms of its ability to earn foreign exchange. And of course, again, during the COVID period, we would have seen that entire trade activity lessen, and substantially so. And if I can give you an idea, at 2016, we were exporting to the tune of $50 billion. In 2017, it went to $59 billion. 2018, $65 billion. I'm talking about both energy and non-energy. By 2019, it dropped to $48 billion, and 2020, $37 billion. Not a good place to be, but if as I reflect on the figures for the first 6 months of 2021, it's so much improved to the point where our exports of energy and non-energy are about $26 billion, which takes us back puts us in a better position than we were even in 2019. So we're there to some extent in terms of exports. There's some recovery, but again, we've got to keep shooting and aiming so that we can export even more. And on the import side, I can tell you the figures are that they are coming down, and to the extent where, if I give you an idea, import levels in 2016 would have been 53 billion, down to 46 in 2017, 52 in 2018, 42 in 2019. Of course, this unusual year, 2020, 32 billion. And looking at the the first 6 months, down to $17 billion. So still, I think they're quite contained. What we want to see is a trade surplus, to see the country enjoy a trade surplus where exports are more than in imports. But what we really want to do is to have that band widened, so to keep the imports down some more, but certainly to improve those exports, both on the energy side and the non-energy side. And at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the focus is on the non-energy side.
But while you're moving towards or working towards that trade surplus, some people might even describe the recovery of exports, while appreciated, as a double-edged sword, because sometimes it may want you to relax a little bit on the work that you're doing to develop other items, products, services for exports. What do you say to that?
Oh, no. We know where we want to be. And again, we understand the volatility of our energy, our high energy industries. In that, okay, we are enjoying some high prices now in terms of oil and gas and our petrochemicals and so on. But that's okay. But then what happens in another? It's peaks and troughs and so on. So that it's very, very, very volatile, these commodity prices, and it's not something that you could focus on or base your economy on. We've got to, what we've been saying, we've been talking diversification. Indeed, we have done diversification. We have diversified from pure oil and gas to petrochemicals, and then, of course, the manufacturing sector, especially in the 80s. But we need to diversify further in terms of the expansion of the agricultural industry or sector, and certainly in terms of tourism and all the other subsectors that we're going to be focusing on more than ever, because the need is there. We've learned from our history. We must focus on ensuring that there's revenue, earnings coming from other sides, so that, and lessening the dependency, still knowing that we have a large hydrocarbon base, and that we are fortunate enough to be able to monetize that, so that there will still be revenues coming in from that stream, but the dependency must be less. And of course, why not expand further and be very serious about it? And that's what we're doing. And I'm sure when you listen to the budget presentations by the Minister of Tourism, you would understand the increased room stock, and certainly the Ministry of Agriculture, increased production levels. But I mean, we have to really work, as I said, agriculture to the point where we can feed ourselves to some large extent, where we are not relying on foreign food imports and so on. So there's much. We have to expand manufacturing, focus on the maritime industry, in terms of transshipments and whole stacking and yachting, and of course build on the tourism and also the agriculture sector, and also logistics and distribution, which we're doing some of, but we have to do more. So it's no cruising at all, no cruising at all. It's much work ahead, and of course there's the whole question of creation of employment, and that comes with the expansion of these sectors and the further development.
And in the 2 minutes we have on this side of the break, I want to tie what you're saying about the agricultural sector and the volatility of the energy sector, in the sense that a little while ago someone was making the point that a barrel of hot peppers was costing more than a barrel of oil. But what are some of those other products that are really on the scale in terms of top products for exports at this point in time? And I want to add to that, are there any products that have become a little more appealing or a little less appealing for export during the pandemic?
But I won't focus on the pandemic so much. But certainly in the pandemic, we continue to export food products, the food and beverage products that we need into the region and so on. They needed it, they depend on Trinidad and Tobago's manufacturing sector. So we continue to do that, and of course we expanded into some new products in terms of what am I not thinking of? Hand sanitizers, etc. So the pandemic forced us to do that. But we have to look a little deeper than that when we look at things like cocoa, and in that we produce the world's finest cocoa. That's well accepted. But our production levels have gone down over the years as we start to depend largely on the energy sector. We have to build on that, and not only just on producing cocoa for exports, but in terms of the value added, producing finished product, chocolate bars that is in demand, and of course in demand in countries like probably Saudi Arabia, China, UK, etc. So those are the kinds of products that we have to focus on. But not only that, there's an exercise which we did in the ministry, and we looked at what we're exporting and looked at what the globe was importing. In other words, what of the products we are exporting can certainly go out there or is in much demand in the rest of the world. We've done that exercise, and there I can come up with at least 30, 40 products that we are producing, some in fairly large scale, some at much smaller levels, but it tells you that there is a demand for it in other parts of the globe. So those are the kinds of exercises that we have to do to ensure that we go beyond our comfort zone of exporting to the familiar regions like the US and the CARICOM region, and start shooting for the stars and going out to other regions.
And when we come back from the break, I want to continue the conversation about building on that value chain and looking at whether or not there are facilities to do that in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, we continue the conversation with the Senator Paula Gopi-Scoon, Minister of Trade and Industry. Stay with us. We return with more.
It's D-Best pre-Christmas sale. Start your Christmas shopping at dbesttoys.com now and save big. Shop gifts for the entire family all in one place. Get huge discounts on brand name toys and baby items, from action figures, arts and crafts, bicycles, tricycles, scooters and skateboards, tablets, laptops and Amazon Fire Sticks, building blocks, cars, trucks and remote control vehicles, desks, clay, dough and slime, educational and STEM toys, dinosaurs, dolls, dollhouses and kitchen sets, board games and puzzles, outdoor fun, party supplies, school supplies, strollers, car seats and travel systems, baby bathtubs and potties, cribs and playpens, bouncers and rockers, walkers, jumpers and swings, high chairs and booster seats, gyms and playmats, shoes and clothing, changing pads, blankets, soothers, baby bottles, nursing and feeding accessories, and so much more. Visit us in-store at 7 Maynard MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com and get free nationwide delivery. Avoid the Christmas rush and get the first pick of D-Best toys at D-Best prices. There's something for the whole family at dbesttoys.com. Free Christmas Christmas sale.
For generations, hard work and good advice have been essential. So when hard work gives me tough pain, I rely on Panadol Ultra that relieves fast 5 types of tough pain. Take good advice. Take Panadol Ultra. Find your trusted Panadol Extra Strength with a new look and new tablet.
The Hot Zone.
My name is Dexter Saunders, and we're here at the Covert Hospital. We're actually on the floor of ICU HDU. We'd really prefer not to ever see you guys here. We'd prefer to see you guys on the outside, getting vaccinated, because here is serious business. People die here. It's not easy. Seeing and hearing mothers crying, fathers crying, even some of my colleagues. They call us the frontline workers. This is a wartime term. The war is being fought right here. And the only weapon we have in this war is vaccination.
Don't delay. Get vaccinated today.
On the next episode of Bubble Up with Chef Swappy.
It is yummy. It is nice. It is beautiful.
I could buy the bone on TV too or no?
Yes, you could. Yeah.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are you so boy?
Welcome back to In Depth with me, Dike Rostant, where we are speaking about expanding trade opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago with Line Minister for Trade and Industry, Senator Paula Gopi-Scoon. Now, Senator, I really appreciate the fact that you all did the research saying, okay, well, this is what people are importing, this is what we export that fits into that mold. But what are some of the things that you're looking at for new and potential markets being targeted? And I say that with the information that a little earlier today, your line ministry would have shared that Caribbean export, one, recognizes the need for organizations, especially SMEs, to retool during this pandemic. And they've also created a system of grant funding for that. Is there any similar situation or facility here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, of course. So that's a new product created by Caribbean Export, and I'll tell you that they had something similar maybe a few months ago, and I'll tell you the Trinidad SMEs took up quite a good portion of it. And so I'm happy to see that. But yes, we have similar programs in Trinidad and Tobago, grant funding. I'll tell you that even coming out, let's go down to the micro businesses, and coming out of COVID, during the COVID season actually, during the COVID period actually, we, in NETCO, we started a small grant facility, and I'm saying it's important because it's good for the micro businesses, and which would go up, I think, to $20,000. And what per person, and what Minister of Finance has done in the budget is to say that I will extend this, and this is to give the opportunity to micro businesses to expand in whichever way they can. But shooting over to the small and medium-sized businesses, and you asked about CEDA, there is a similar facility in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, a grant fund facility where we finance $250,000 per person, and that's grant per organization or person, and that is for the purchase of machinery and equipment, and where but it must only be up to 50% of the cost of the item. But there's other grant funding possibilities in terms of research and development, where you can get actually up to about $1 million from Export TT, which will take you through the stage of your idea development, prototype development, and the commercialization of your product. So there are all sorts of areas of grant funding available. There's grant funding for steel pan manufacturing as well, and that has to be an area of focus in terms of the expansion of the industry and also the export of the steel pans. Minister of Finance in the last budget also increased the amount that is available under that fund, so that we're going to make sure that we go back and re-advertise all of these funding opportunities that there are. And of course, there are other funding opportunities in terms of the assistance training and getting your management accounts ready and that kind of thing. And that's going to come out of that is another grant funding opportunity out of the Ministry of Finance. Minister announced that in the budget recently, $50 million. And I'll tell you why that's important, because most businesses are not able to migrate, well, they don't. They don't migrate into the formal economy, and that holds them back from accessing facilities, from even getting bank financing and so on, qualifying for particular types of financing, because they're just not in the formal economy. They don't even do management accounts. They need the hand-holding, they need the training, etc. Minister has recognized that, and that kind of grant funding will also be available from the Ministry of Finance, and indeed they are in fact massaging that package, and I'm sure it will be launched pretty soon. So there's several funding opportunities that are available for anybody who wants to get into business. And if you are in it, and let's say you are a small you're a small business outfit, even if you're interested in developing the export potential for your product, there are several co-financing and grant funding opportunities within Export TT that will help you to develop your export capacity in terms of the particular product, if it's right, and in terms of its development and getting it ready for particular markets, assistance with the packaging, assistance with changing from ordinary packaging into green packaging, which would make it more appealing. So there are several funding opportunities that are available, and several others to come. And that from time to time that we will announce that have been approved, certainly in the Ministry of Trade and Industry as well. So with regard to funding, it's there. And and you talked earlier about these products and the exercise that we've done. So yes, we know that there's several products that we are producing now that are right and are perfect for expansion. And this is the kind of engagement that Export TT will be having with the TTME, because again, we are assisting on the TTME side in assisting them in meeting the goals of expanding their exports. And that's the kind of discussion, massaging, and collaboration that's going on to ensure that these products get out there, and not, as I said before, not just the familiar territories, but certainly to others. Only, I'll tell you, if you have the time, just 2 nights ago, I think it would have been Sunday night, we launched a booth at the China Export event. And immediately, I think a container valued $40,000 US was sold, and that's non-energy items, pepper sauces, etc., etc. And so those are the kinds of opportunities that we have to look for.
But moving forward, though, Minister, one of the things I want to ask, though, it is very good to have these products that are available. But you spoke of engagement a little while ago. Are individuals engaging to access these things? Because to give another example, we've been told that the Green Fund, there's this amount of resource available, but at the same time, not that many people are accessing, and accessing is different from applying for. So I don't know if it's sometimes, is it the process of moving the mountain a little closer to Muhammad, or breaking up some of the larger amounts so that you have less criteria that people need to apply for them? How is application and access taking place for these facilities available through the ministry?
Well, I'll tell you something, and not only through the Ministry of Trade, because there's access to funding. The Minister of Agriculture also has a $100,000 grant facility in the Ministry of Agriculture to get production going, and they're talking about persons who are engaged in small farming and so on. So you're not talking about those who are in medium-sized businesses and so on. So it's across all government ministries, and I will tell you, okay, perhaps we don't advertise enough, perhaps we don't communicate enough, but we have to, because the funding is available. So the funding is available, but you raise an important point that perhaps we have to look at the criteria. And I'll tell you that the Minister of Finance did exactly that with regard to the $350 million fund that was made available for small and medium-sized businesses through the commercial banks during COVID, and which he has now extended. And what he has done is he's gone in and examined why it didn't move as fast as we thought, why the uptake was not as good as we thought. And so that he went in and he actually looked at all the parameters for the loan and had discussions with the Bankers Association and altered all of it to make the accessibility a lot easier. So, for instance, where we said we want to see up-to-date, we want up-to-date evidence that you've paid your taxes, etc., and so on. You must be up to date with PIR, and we recognize that there were challenges in the last 2 years and so on. And what he said, okay, we will rely on 2018. The fact that you had to show the fact that you were compliant up to 2018. So that kind of flexibility was built in terms of the moratorium. The moratorium is in fact there. The repayment period is there. The purpose of the loan was extended to include purchasing of equipment, purchasing of property, purchasing of vehicles, not for personal use, but that are associated with the business. So the purpose was expanded, the loan period was expanded, the moratorium was expanded, and so on. So this is what government is doing, re-examining. Has this worked? Should we change something, change the criteria, alter it? We are doing so, because at the end of the day, it's pointless saying that you have all these myriad of offerings and the business population is not able to take advantage. So the responsibility is ours, and we have to continue to do it. Minister has done it. We have to all continue to do it to ensure that it's accessible. But also, those who are involved in business must understand that with business comes responsibility, and that there is an expectation that you very well, for the very least, you will do your management accounts, and that there will be that you will conduct your affairs in a very organized way, so that in fact you can grow. And so again, all of this hand-holding and so on and training that is necessary is what is going to come from that grant fund of $50 million that's going to come out from the Ministry of Finance. Again,
speaking about responsibility, Minister, it's my responsibility in this last 30 seconds to ask, how do people contact the ministry for some of these beautiful facilities that you have been describing?
All of it is available online, so anybody goes into social media and they can see how they can access not only the Ministry of Trade, but certainly there are a lot of opportunities available in the tourism industry, in the agricultural industry as well. Ministry of Finance has its projects. I know that they're available online as well. You can go in and get the basic tenets of the particular facilities, and please access it. There's no shortage of opportunity out there. And it's very important that persons try to reach us, and we as well would aim to have more significant outreach.
And we want to thank you so much.
These programs are a success.
Definitely. And we want to thank you so much, Minister Paula Gopi-Skoon, for spending the time with us and giving us this information. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we want to thank you for tuning in to In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.
The winning numbers in the National Lottery online draws for Wednesday, 10th November 2021. At 10:30 a.m., play with the number 20.